Three, two, one. What is up, Husker Nation? Welcome into the first show of the 2025 season, Husker Hangover. I am Matt Verzal, your in need of therapy host. Thank you guys, as always, so much for joining me on this rainy Sunday morning. Nothing wrong with that. It's good to have a little break, get some rain, get some moisture in the ground. Hopefully, give everybody a chance to recover from what is no doubt a long weekend. For those of you that are new to the show, I'm former bench warmer at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. My name is Matt Verzal. I played 1992 to 1996 and had the greatest seat in the house for one of the greatest runs of college football and all the things that go along with that. Local Omaha person here, native of Grand Island, run a little bit of a pizza place here in town and talk a lot of football. And I love the chance to get to talk to you. The show started kind of on a whim. I told a general manager at a radio station, he asked me, what would you do if you were me? I said, well, if somebody can tell me how the great state of Nebraska does not have a Sunday morning reaction show, I will. I said some choice comments. We'll save those for later. I'm trying to be a little bit better, clean up the language a little bit. But said, yeah. I said, we need a show. He goes, let me guess, you have a name for it. I said, yes, I do. It's called Husker Hangover. And that's what that's going to be. That stayed on the radio for a little bit. I got kind of pissed off at them, took the name and moved on to a different streaming service. And then that didn't work out. So now I'm just by myself. So it is just me doing all of this by myself. For those sending me text messages, we got some technology going today, but we will do the best we can. We will discuss Nebraska's victory over Cincinnati to start the season 1-0, which is all we can ask for. In the comments there, let me know. Make sure we're seeing and hearing well on the streams. It's on the Matt Verzal podcast on YouTube, and it's on the Husker Hangover Facebook page. Probably just going to fork over the cash for those of you that follow along on X. We'll get it on X on the Husker Hangover X account as well. But I caved. They're going to make me pay for it. But happy to be a part of your day, and thank you so much for joining me this Sunday. This is an open forum. I'm going to give you some points and things that I saw in the game. There's some things that I just see, and you guys let me know what you thought about it. I go back and forth. I love interaction. I like your guys' viewpoints on stuff. So feel free, fire away in the comments. We got Mikey already in the morning. Shout out to Mikey's Knowles. Tony White did well for you guys. You're welcome for us not signing him and letting you have him. My biggest takeaway first, a shout out to Husker fan. I tried to warn everybody. I even called people I know that are not in the front office at the Chiefs, but that work there. I said, whosever bright idea it is to open this tailgate lot at 3 p.m., that is a terrible idea. Because we're coming in full force. And so you guys better get your shit together, because they're going to back that up onto 29. And then the state P is going to come in and say, hey, you need to let these people in. We've got a problem here. We got a big problem here. So we've got cars backed out onto a major thoroughfare, and somebody's going to get smoked. So get this thing open. And you guys did it. And you made me look really smart, so I appreciate that. My takeaway from the game, okay, and I've got a lot. There's a lot going on. It's your first game. You're on the road. You basically turned an away game into a home game, which was awesome. I really always enjoy when Nebraska can do that. But overall, my mindset for the year, as you look at the team, is this. Okay, it is this simple statement. Okay, it's made famous by a guy that I had the chance to meet when I was out in Oakland, California. His name is Al Davis, and he said, "Just win, baby." Okay, I've used that a lot on here because as I look and I assess Nebraska and where they're at and what they do, they're not to the point where we're a team that's going to blow teams out. I don't care who the team is. Okay. We're a team that's going to win games. And I really strongly believe we're going to win games just by the way Matt Rule and his evolving staff, no matter who's with him, have changed the mindset of the organization, not just the players, of the organization. Okay. Winning is expected. I don't care how you do it. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be ugly. It's not going to hit our eye right. But right now, at this point in time in the year, it doesn't have to hit your eye right. It doesn't. They needed to learn how to win again. Okay. As we watch the game and as we look through everything, I'm going to turn this a little bit just to see if that helps me. Perfect. There's my door over there. But as we look at what they were able to do in that game, was it a flawless game? If you, it's the Matt Verzal podcast on the YouTube. I got Johnny Johnson hit me up already. But anyway, as we look at the game, it was not a work of art. It was not pretty, but it gave you a ton of things that you could see as Nebraska progresses on in the season of what that could look like. Okay, what we could end up being in the season. I thought at times when we were in between the tackles running the football, we looked good. We were able to get those things done. It was downhill. It was all of those things. It was beautiful. Okay. We did get ourselves in a lot of positions where when we started to try to explore where we could run the football, it did not go as well. Okay. Cincinnati's game plan defensively evolved into this. We're going to take away the middle because of the run lanes, because we know we are fast enough to get past your tackles on the outside. That is not a fault of the tackle. It is an assessing of the skill set of the tackles. The tackles right now don't have the foot speed to get to the corner. Okay, they don't have the ability to set the edge on that where we can run what I would just call a wide zone to just keep it in simple terms. Okay, we want to get wider than the widest man. We want to get outside and get a crease. We don't have that potential right now. Okay, it's just the way we're built. But what we are built for is downhill running. Okay, we can get in between the tackles, and it was really successful. What Cincy did was say, we're going to take that away. We're going to put more people in the middle so you can't. So now you've got to go to option B and option C. What I really like Nebraska doing, and I give Dylan Raiola credit, when they tried to run one of my least favorite routes in football, just a little arrow route, like the 1 yard out route, which I think is just a difficult throw. A lot of things can go wrong with that. But he was putting the ball on the arrow route's hands. Like, so now he can just reach and grab the ball. He doesn't have to worry about it being high and him getting smoked by a safety. He doesn't have to worry about it being low and not catching the ball. So that's how Nebraska in that game had to attack the wider portions of the field, right? So when we get into that, then you could kind of see how the chess game starts. Since he said you're not going to go in the middle, and unfortunately they were right. They did a great job up front. They had the big old boy with the Italian name. I don't remember his name, but he was a load. All 330 pounds of him. I love those guys. I wish we had more of those guys. No offense to our defensive line. We'll talk about the defense as well. But they were able to take that away, which is a little off-putting, and I understand it and I get it. But they did what they needed to do, and they made Nebraska kind of look uncomfortable. But that's all right because we are an evolving program. We're an evolving team. Okay? Cincinnati, in and of itself, I do think that we undersold them. They are a good football team. They're a well-coached football team. Are they, top-end Power 5 team? No, but they're going to cause problems in the Big 12. I wouldn't be surprised if they finished in the top 3 or 4 in the Big 12. I think they have that kind of caliber team. They have good players. Anytime you can get a 230-pound quarterback that can run the ball, that's a good thing. He cannot throw it in the ocean from the beach, but that's not our pig and that's not our farm. We don't have to worry about that. So offensively, those were the things I like. Guys, I would love to see. I thought Lindenmeyer did fantastic. I thought we got to see some of our receiver, Dane Key, with the touchdown. We also had the touchdown from Hunter. Good things happened in that game. Offensively, was it a work of art? No. But are we a work in progress? Yes. Still to this day. Defensively, I thought it was an interesting breakdown. I've spoke about it on a lot of the radio interviews I do. We are not a team that has the luxury of having those two big run stoppers anymore. Okay. Nash and Ty. By the way, Ty has one of the greatest. Yeah. I'm sorry about the YouTube. I don't know what's going on. I'll get that checked out after this show and I'll get it queued up for the next show. So we're just going to all have to be on Facebook today. But I've got it set up where it is supposed to be streaming there. I'll hop into YouTube and figure that out here after this show, and we'll get her back up for next week. As we look at what we have a little bit more slender, a little bit more quick, a little bit more like foot speed guys, okay? What Nebraska does in that is they did a great job of assessing talent, okay? They assessed what they had and said, all right, we're not going to be able to two-gap these guys, meaning I'm not going to be able to hold up a blocker and play both sides of that blocker. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to put these guys in motion. meaning they're going to run slants, they're going to run twists, they're going to run loops, they're going to do all those kind of things. Okay. What it was where Nebraska got in trouble a couple times is when you are in that kind of defensive phase, you have to be precise down to the inch when things happen. Okay. I do have a miniature fake whiteboard that we'll write on here for a little bit, but if I can just look at how that this wanted to get set up, okay, they got to put guys in motion and they got to move them because they don't have size. They use their linebackers to bring pressure. Then they have enough defenders back behind them to help out. I think that also the secondary provides some luxury for our defense. Okay, the secondary is very good. I know that there were some breakdowns. We had some penalties. Those are going to happen. Okay, early in the season, you're not practicing against your buddies anymore. You're practicing like live bullets. It's always different. It has been forever. It will be till the end of time. But if we look at what Nebraska wanted to do up front, I'm just going to draw something real simple, okay? I'll try to draw as big as I can. If we look at this, I'm just going to put a DT. We're going to put a nose, okay? If we draw this in, super simple, okay? And we're just going to keep it basic, all right? So if we're just looking at these guys, we have motion this way just to cause confusion. We have motion this way, and then we have a looper. So what this looper has to do is he cannot stray very far from the slanter that he's headed to, okay? So in high school sense, when you teach in high school and we're running this thing, we always tell this kid, you want to be able to touch him, okay? This is my favorite pointer finger, by the way. If it offends you, you got the wrong show, okay? This guy has to be able to touch this guy when he finishes, okay? Even if he's a step away, 6 inches away where he can't make contact with him on the way by, now you've created the gap, okay? You've created the space where they can take advantage of. I really thought Cincy's running back was kind of a nice, shifty little changeup. I know this is the way college football is right now. I would reach out to him and see how happy he is at Cincinnati if he's got another year of eligibility left. Put some money behind that and see what could happen. But I like the skills that he had. Okay, but this is why on defense that we saw Nebraska get gashed a couple times. The other thing is when you do these things, this guy, if his point is the hip of that center, he cannot get moved off of that, okay? So what would happen when their quarterback was able to just kind of take off up the middle is he would slant and just a subtle push from this guy would get him off of his point, okay? And then when this guy then started to drive him, then he drove him past, and then if you look, then that lane is just open, okay? So that's how you can counteract what was going on with their quarterback being able to run when they were passing and they ran the ball. Or then they went to some design runs with a lead blocker just to make sure that he was the guy that could kind of take the ball and take over and kind of move it down the road for them. All right. So that's how that happens. But we're going to see this. Now, do I see us being able to clean this up? Yes. Because, again, you're running it against your own guys. Whether they want to admit it or not, there's brother-in-law that goes on in practice. It happens everywhere. But they need to get that clean if that's the way they want to continue on, okay? So those are things that I would step up. That, I think, in turn, caused some problems for the next level at linebacker because a lot of times we were able to get to second level and then get in the face of second level, which is going to happen. These guys now have to play better with their hands on, meaning they're going to jolt the offensive guy and then get off that block. We got kind of sticky with some stuff. They got into us, and then they were able to get some yards. It wasn't perfect. It's never going to be perfect in game one. If you look at the total yards for the game, as I struggle to find stats, since he went for 271, we had 356. We did get the ball turned over twice. Okay, we did not turn the ball over. All right, that's awesome. The last time we won the turnover battle, it's been a hot minute. Okay. So I try to find the positives in these early season games. We were able to do that. Fantastic. I think there's far more things that we can take away as a positive than we do as a negative. As the game went on, okay, offense isn't really getting a lot of scoring done. We've got enough to be in the lead, but we don't have enough to be a comfortable lead, which for a Nebraska fan like us, it's probably going to be 21 points. Would have felt pretty good. Like, hey, we got this one in the bag. No big deal. Not how we're built. Okay. Currently, not how we're built. We kept it close. We got a penalty. Hartzog Jr. had the penalty later in the game as they're trying to drive down to score. And I think, hand up. My butthole puckered when that penalty happened. I said, "Oh shit, here we go." Okay, it took to this point in the game to get that penalty that sends us into a flank, and then we somehow get this to overtime, and then we don't win in overtime. I was thinking it. I try not to have negative thoughts, but I was there. That's where I was at. Okay. The defensive call then, where we went from Hartzog in coverage to a too deep look. All right. So it's been Hartzog back in coverage. You almost bait Cincinnati into saying, hey, we're going to play too high. If you want to go for meaning two high safeties, if you want to go for the win here, again, you can take your quarterback who can't throw it in the ocean from the beach, and we're just going to, we'll give you the we'll give you the corner route. If he can hit the corner route, hey, you win. You shock everybody on a home game that you sold to Kansas City for an away game, which it turned into for you. No worries. You got paid $6 million. That will help your program. Okay. But we're going to give you this corner route. Throw it. We dare you. They did. In the past, when we have a player get a penalty, then they kind of go in the tank. Hartzog, mentally tough, been around for a while, seen that, said, nope, not today. Goes and makes the interception, and awesome. Like crazy, crazy happy with the way that ended up. Actually, probably most happy he made that play. Redemption plays for me will always have a warm spot in my heart because he feels, oh man, I gave them some yards. I got to get this back. And we try to do too much. He stayed inside every piece of that scheme that they ran. He baited them into that throw, and then he went and made the play and got the interception and sealed the victory. And that's it for me. Nebraska won. That's all I need. Okay. I probably will not bet Nebraska this year. I have in the past. It messes with my brain. But they won the game. That's it. That's all we needed to have happen, and it happened. And we got off to a 1-0 start for the season, and all should be well. From a special teams aspect, Arch, shout out to you, bud. I don't know if at his age, never having played or started in a college football game before, that you could go out what he did. That little son of a bitch went out and kicked the ball with the left foot, and he kicked it with the right foot, just as advertised. Pinned Cincy inside the 10, old school gangster coffin corner kicks. Like, yeah, I'm going to kick it right over there. About the 8 or 9 is where I'm headed to, boys. You can catch it if you want to. You ain't going to go very far. But he did what he was supposed to do. Overall, and I know people will be fired up about kick return, okay, because we got some guys back there that we feel are athletic and can get some big plays. That still has a lot of work to do. Like getting in front of the block, they gave us an opportunity to return kicks. Didn't look the smoothest at all. But overall, special teams didn't feel like, okay, this is a phase we're going to lose. It felt like a phase, at worst, we're going to break even. We can just break even on the special teams and let the offense and defense figure it out. Good enough for me. From a coaching aspect, okay? So I mentioned some of the changes that the defensive coordinator made as the game evolved, baiting into a throw. I thought they did a nice job of switching up looks and making sure that the quarterback did have to run the ball. I'm sure there was frustration that he was the guy that ran the ball. I do remember Lightmore, that he was the guy that ran the ball, okay, because I think they didn't really think he was going to be that good of a runner, and then he started running it. It's like, oh, shit, we probably shouldn't let him have the ball. Let's see if we can get him to throw it. And he did, and that was beneficial to us. The big things that I was excited about from Coach Rule and what he did, okay, what they did in that game is they played a shitload of people. They played a lot of guys, and they had no problem putting them into games. That means that the reps that they were getting in practice, they felt comfortable saying, we're going to rotate the hell out of this thing. Okay, we're going to get a lot of guys snaps. We're going to get a lot of guys plays. You can have position battles or playing time battles in practice all you want. You can do it till the cows come home. You never know how that player is going to react until you put them into a game. Okay. They put these guys into a game and they said, go figure it out, boys. We're going to see what happens. And guess what? You get 3 of them. You get a 3-game live audition. They'll do the same thing in these next 2 games, which should be a lot more comfortable margin of victory. Okay. If they are not, then we will have a lot of other things to discuss. All right. But they put them into live games. Here's the real deal. Let's see what you got. Okay. They got a ton of guys through. The one that's always a huge topic of conversation, and I really have no problem with how they handled it, was the left tackle spot. This is just a guess by me, but you had Gatula, Corcoran, and Pritchett was your rotation. Okay. Gatula took the first series. Corcoran took the second series. Pritchett took the third. And then they just stayed in a rotation the whole game. Okay. They are telling them one of the 3 of you needs to man up and go win this job. I'm guessing what will happen next is Corcoran will start the next game. Pritchett will go second. Gatula will go third. The third game, Pritchett will start. Gatula will go second. Corcoran will go third. Now you've got a live victory. Okay. You've got live ammo that you're playing with. You're playing in games. Excuse me. I am Team Pritchett in that. Okay. And then my guy that I've gone to bat for, we get down to the goal line and we are at the 1, and this baby is quarterback sneak. We are in tush push central. We're about to, Mr. Evans is about to take their other big dude, and we're going to shove them all back. And we're just going to fall in the end zone. We're going to get 7. And I think you changed the momentum of the game. Okay. My guy Pritchett, which was mentioned by Rule, that he jumps offside in practice. I was like, okay, no problem. There's probably lack of focus. It's just maybe he's a gamer, turns it on. My guy jumped offsides, which I did not need in my life. Okay. I'm defending. I think he's the best of them. And then shit. we jump offside. I'm like, bro, you're killing me, my man. You're killing me. I just need you to not jump offside. That's all I need. I'm in your corner. I think you're the guy. Can't jump offside. Okay. But took the 3. Just can't jump offside. All right. The focus that I had for the season, I said, I think right out of the gate, Nebraska is an 8-win team. Okay. I think 8 wins. I can find 8 wins on there. Not easy, but I can find them. Okay. They're there. If I'm thinking in terms of last year's team, the strides that I think the staff has made with this organization is from the mental side. They had opportunity to beat themselves, as they have done in the past, over and over again. We've all watched it. We've all suffered through it. We've all done these things. We hate it. It's made me to a point. You guys have been here with me through this. You know when I'm in it early and I see little signs and shimmers of hope, and then they fuck it up, and then I just get pissed and I get apathetic, and I'm like, here's the fixes. They don't want to fix them. Here we go. That's it. But the part where they've made the most mental strides to me is I think this is a group right now that probably has the most cohesion as a full organization. Okay. A full organization. Top to bottom. They genuinely give a shit about each other. I've said my guy Archie, who we'll mention again, when he had his little moment at the podium where it's his birthday, he's a billion miles away from his family. That's got to suck. Because I talked to some of my buddies that when we were there, and we were homesick from like 45 miles away from where we lived. Like imagine being on the other side of the world. But a guy like that is a binder. When everybody likes the guy, which they seem to, and everybody's hurting or he's hurting, everybody kind of rallies around him. You can see the resilience that can come from that, right? They want to be a part of it. They want to be a team. I think they're mentally tougher than they have been in the past. I think they're a mentally tough, a more mentally tough team than they have been in previous years. That's evolution. Like physically, we have talent, we have skill, we have all those things. Okay. But the mental side of it, like, can I overcome adversity? You're never going to have a game that's perfect. Something bad is going to happen. Lutowski got an early personal foul penalty, kind of killed the first drive. Kind of a ticky-tack call, but with player safety and all that stuff and the big guy hitting the little guy, it's going to happen. I'll tell you this for free. If that was a wide receiver that hit that defensive back and knocked him over like that, it's not a penalty. But the big guy got him, and it's killed the drive. Those little things, right? So now coaches have that on tape where they can clean these things up. They can say, hey, we can't, this killed a drive. We were moving, we were doing things, we took some chances. That put us behind the 8-ball. We don't have the team that can be behind the 8-ball. We got to stay ahead of the sticks. We got to get all these things done. Okay. There are far more things if you look at the long range of a season and say, hey, these are correctable in practice because you're mentally tougher than you were before. We can fix these through film study because you're mentally tougher than before. I think the players respect the coaching staff quite a bit. And I don't know if you could always say that in the past. So a lot of positives to take away in it. I'm not blowing sunshine up your ass. I will never do that. But you can be excited about what is there because the mental makeup of the team is different, in my opinion. That's the big thing I took away from it. Like those are what I felt about the game. I think the play call that Holgerson made down on the goal line, I believe that was Hunter's touchdown, where it's like, hey, we're Nebraska. We're going to zone read this baby, and we're going to get it in the end zone. We're going to try to go old school power football and run in there. And Hogs knew there's too many guys in the box. Gave it the old ball read psych and just laser in the end zone. Loved it. I thought Raiola overall played a better game at quarterback than he has in a while. Everything wasn't – last year for me, if I had a complaint, a lot of floaters. Like I'm going to float this in there. It's just going to kind of go over. I'm going to drop it in. And this one we saw some lasers. Like he just ripped it, right? That throw has to be a rip. There can't be any air under that throw, and he did it. So it was awesome. But we won. And I know I lost my shit on Friday on Gary and Matt's show because I don't want narratives created. We are a work in progress. We are a work in progress. I do not want, oh man, we are Nebraska and we don't even have a starting left tackle. Great. You got 3 guys in the running. You're giving them live auditions, which in your early season schedule, you should be able to. It takes a brass set of balls to stick with that plan when the game isn't a blowout, but they did. They trusted their guys. They put them in situations, and they won. Okay? Wasn't a pretty win, but we won. And that's all we need to do. By a half point, by 30 points, they still go in the left column. If we can avoid putting them in the right column, perfect. I don't care how ugly. I don't care how pretty. It's just win. For those of you graphic designers out there, which I still have not been able to find, graphic designer, here's your t-shirt idea. Tom Osborne, Al Davis glasses, just win, baby. That's it. And you can make the Nebraska end, the part of the win, exclamation point. You're welcome. I only want 10% royalty. Okay? If you're a graphic designer, make that shirt, sell that sumbitch, and we'll be fine because that should be the mantra. Just win. Doesn't have to be by a bunch. Doesn't have to be really by more than one. But that's it. That's all we got to do. So those are my takeaways from the game. As I love to do, we will head to the comment section, and we will, any questions, just start firing them. Okay? Just fire away with questions. I know you guys saw things in games. I'll try to give you the best I can to kind of give you my view. So we'll see what happens. All right. As always, we're going to go to the comments. Mike, FSU Mike, by the way, shout out to Mike. As I said before, you're welcome for Tony White. Those dudes were flying around in that Florida State game, and they were headhunting. So give some credit to Cincy too. Satterfield was a good offensive coach. People are complaining about the D, but all they did a good job of bottling them up. It was game 1. Skurs are going to be fine. Exactly. Good morning from Fort Still, Oklahoma. Mitchell, how we doing? We're at the game. All the Cia red. Question: what do you think would be the best at left tackle? Who impressed you? Because I want to see one tackle when we play Michigan. Yeah, you're spot on. That will be the way it ends up. You guys got a live 3-game audition. The winner of this, because you're going to have almost the same amount of reps, is going to start the Michigan game. For me, I'm a Pritchett guy. I think we've seen Corcoran do his thing. I think Gatula has a lot to work on. His grade on Pro Football Focus would represent about as much. Pritchett is your guy. When he was right and he was on, there was a play where he blocked down, and then we had a tight end kind of come and kick the end outside of him. So just we call it was a down call. We've called it blast in high school. Whatever the terminology you want to use for it is fine. Pinchado took the 3 technique into the nose guard, and then the pile that he had made also picked off the linebacker. It was explosive. It was quick. It was aggressive. Like I said, the lack of mental focus stuff is what gets me with him. And we can't have it happen. You can't jump offside at the 1-inch line. Like, you just can't do it. It just clean up the mental. I think we got a great left tackle. I really do. Super happy on the right side for Teddy Prohaska. I thought he had a really good game. To see him battle through. I mean, we think about it, Buddy hasn't played like in a couple years, like no live snaps in a couple years. And we didn't really have any complaints on the right side. Like there wasn't anybody getting beat horribly. There were plays that just, it was good. It's just now as Holgerson is able to assess what the strengths are to try to get to the outside. It's probably not the tackles logging the ends inside. For me, now you get a chance to see Dana Holgerson's creativity, because what they'll probably do is they'll want to get to the outside. You take the tackle down and you motion your H back, which is Lindenmeyer, over, and you just send him on a motion. He can even go past the defensive end, puts a foot in the ground, comes back, and seals that defensive end inside. Now a wide receiver is going to have to get that outside linebacker. I'm sorry, this camera keeps focusing. I will try not to move as much. But he gets to the outside. Now we can try to crease the outside, but it's those different creative ways to get there to the outside that we're going to have to work on. Like I said, we'll work on YouTube. Hopefully that helps you with 69. Or Johnny says, can you explain 69 or why the guy Rule said can't quit making mistakes was allowed to take a touchdown off the board? We've talked about that. Understand keeping guys rotating on D, but seemed like they were doing it almost too much. Let him settle in. I would agree with that. I'm fine with that. I think the goal was, again, got to get them in and see how they react. And they stuck to rotations. A lot of times when you're a coach and like, okay, this is a rotation. This is what we're going to do. Something happens in the game. That rotation sheet goes out the window. It's like, I'm throwing my best in there and we're going because this is a lot tighter than I thought it was going to be. So that I would say those will probably pare down a little bit as we see these last 2 games. So those will be. Comfortable victory, ? Why would you jinx us? Yeah. If we struggle in the next 2, we're going to have some problems. Patrick says the D-line looks smaller than Cincy D-line. Thoughts? It's where we are. We sometimes finding the monsters like Ty and Nash is a little harder. I would say, if we're looking at things to focus on in the portal as player acquisition happens, and we can be pissed at it all we want. It will when the season is over, whenever that is, there will be player acquisition. Okay, there will be player acquisition. Just saying it. I think the defensive line coach does a great job. I know the guys like him. I got to see him work. I liked how he did it. There's an intensity to it. There's a high expectation for precision with hand placement and feet and where your hips are. And there are a couple guys running through some drills, and he got a little flustered because what he's teaching them, like, hey, your hips have to do this, was not registering with the guys. And you just see him. I've been there in a much smaller sense, but he was under his breath. He was muttering, he's like, how can we not figure this out? But then they assessed it and they drilled it. And then the guys eventually got it. He was just, you could see. And for him, there's an acclimation period. I mean, he was working with the top 1% of the 1% at the Chiefs. Now he's working with the top 10%. So it's a little different, but it was good to see them evolve. If the FSU broadcast last night, they mentioned Alabama had a false start issue last year, and he plays for Nebraska now. Yeah, it's you can cure it. That comes from confidence. I'm saying the risk is worth the reward with the talent that he possesses. Okay. Now there are ways you can battle that. At my various stops in coaching along the way, we always had a hot word for the count number. I learned this from Kenny Fisher in high school. for those of you from Grand Island, you know what it is. I'm not going to say it on here because some of the schools that I've coached at still use to this day. Okay. You can find hot words that will help you in that instance. Okay. You can find hot words that will instantly put the brain at ease, and then the player knows it's on two. I know it sounds like it should be simple and basic. Believe it or not, football players are no different than society. There are people that overthink things. Okay. Break the huddle, go up. You're looking at things. Okay. I got my job. Oh shit. I forgot to count. Okay. At center, I got the yips because I jumped off sides once. I don't know if I even jumped off sides in high school ever. I jumped off sides. I started putting the fingers of the count down with my offhand. Okay. Something as simple as that. They can get it fixed. There's ways to get it fixed. I'm going to stay with my guy because, like I said, I think he's the most talented of it. The risk is worth the reward right now. And by the way, Lutowski, good on you, because everybody's worried about pitch jumping off sides. Nobody's worried about you getting your personal foul that should have been a personal foul that stalled the first drive. So, hey, you're in good space, my man. Congratulations. Mike says they should have the no quit gene finally. I think that was finally. Totally agree with mental toughness. Yeah. Now, for me, and I get building your brand and I get all that stuff, we could just back down the TikToking. And I'm fine with that. I love TikTok. I'm on TikTok quite a bit for a person of my age. I probably shouldn't be on there that much, but I learn a whole bunch. Anything that I see, I try to find the opposite side. I listen to both. But they are tougher. That's it. I mean, you guys have been with me for how long? We've done it 7-8 years. When's the last time? 7-8 years. I said they were going to win more than 4. I think last year was my first. I said they would be 6-6. Like, I haven't said a winning season in 8 years, which just bothers the soul of my heart. That I can't say that about my alma mater. But watching how the machine operates, Eckler and his enthusiasm, right? That's an interesting discussion because your special teams coach is your one guy. Because there are, it happened all the time. There are separate factions. The defense will always feel like it is a unit. The offense will always feel like it is a unit. They both feel they're responsible for the win. They are both correct. But your special teams coach is the one guy that gets to work both sides of the fence and bring them together as a unit and make them play well together. Not that there's animosity between the two, okay? But he's that one guy, and Eckler with his enthusiasm and juice and what he brings to the mix, I think he's a guy that probably is more valuable than we realize. And so I love what he does. And hey, we keep finding punters from Australia that can kick both footed. That guy was a weapon. I'm sorry, I'm in the Archie fan club. We made a 52-yard field goal. Like, special teams wasn't, hey, much as I said with the penalties earlier, when the special teams units came on the field, I was like, oh shit. Let's not give one up return for touchdown. Let's not miss this field goal horribly. We did some good things on special teams. Probably the group that made the most advancement from year 1 to year 2. So, John says, can you show us pro right power play on the whiteboard or a nice counter and nice shirt? Thank you. Okay, so when you get into terminologies, basically what you're looking to do in any kind of power setup is you're going to bring a body from one side to the other. I'm going to show you the version of power I know. From high school to college, you can just insert a different player, okay? So you can insert a different player. It may be a guy in motion that comes in as your power back. I'm just going to draw it out of the old school I formation, what I would call power, okay? And this is how we would do it, okay? All right, so if I look at this and I get any kind of alignment, say I have an end here, a tackle here, got a nose, another end, I'm backer, and then we'll just put a safety back here, okay? Like I said, I'm just going to draw it out of I. These parts and pieces can move around to different spots. This is why I talk about people making football hard, because due to formation, it changes this, blah, blah, blah. If you can get your players thinking in just the mindset of, you're this guy, you are just standing here, right? You still have to get to here, okay? This is how me as a high school coach, I would run power. It's the basic core of it. You can get into higher level parts and pieces of it, different formations as you want to evolve, okay? Just super simple. If I'm going to run power, we're going to double team here. They have to take care of that block, okay? So these two guys are responsible for these two. Right now, my center and my backside guard, they have to be responsible for these two, okay? So in here, I've gone 4 for 4, right? I've used 4, you use 4, okay? And this is if my guys execute, right? This tight end, he's going to be an outside release kind of guy. I can take him here. I can motion him over. He can still outside release if I do stay in this I formation or a split back formation, okay? His responsibility is just getting to that safety, right? However he wants to release, depending on where that guy aligns himself, right? My fullback now is going to take a J block angle, and our only goal is to get our right shoulder to his right shoulder. So we want to kick him out. We want to take that kind of arc and kick him out. However you want to do this over here, you can counter step back. You can take a counter. You can go up there. You can open up straight to it and just run at it, but you can get there. And so now if we're here, handoff happens, and now we've created a crease or a seam on the thought that all these guys win, okay? Backside tackle, it's pretty simple. Any play away, the only thing we don't want to do is just like John Cena, we don't want to get our face crossed. We're going to step hard inside. If that guy goes around the back at all, this guy becomes a touchdown maker, okay? So now he's got to hustle. If that guy does not come with him and compress that gap, he's just going to take off. He's going to try to get a backside safety, a backside corner, somebody in pursuit. So this to me is just a basic, simple form of power. Like I said, now guys like Holgerson, you can take guys and move them around. You could start him over here, and now we're going to get into some timing. We can run this out of the gun, but he's going to motion over. His end game was to still get his right shoulder on that guy's right shoulder, kicking him out. I like the outside release on this because that end is going to be leery of getting hooked. So he's going to work outside a little bit. It helps the angle from wherever the J block comes from. So that's how we do that. That's how I draw power. That's how I know power. Okay. A lot of teams now, their power involves a puller. Totally fine with that. If your power wants to involve a puller, and I only have one sheet, so if their power involves a puller, these two guys now are trading jobs. Okay. The center is still responsible for him. These two are now going to double team back to this guy. He's going to pull and get the front side backer. So that's how you can add bigger bodies in motion with it, which I think Nebraska did a good job of pulling in that game. So I think those are some things that you can look at. Hope that helps, Johnny. You can throw that into the playbook for the boys' teams. You could have just come to Pisons. I would have drawn that for you. Jim says we need to get an RB2 and 3 more reps over the next games. Amen. A to the men. That is the one position where I've in the game, defensive line learned a lot. They learned now precision is key. You have to be precise in everything. Probably a rewarding thing for the coaches because they've harped on that with the guys. And then obviously it didn't come to fruition in the game. So now they can go pull that film. It's like, hey, Johnny, do you remember when I told you that you had to be able to touch the slanter? You had to be able to touch him. And then you decided you wanted to go way wide and not make contact with a goddamn person. So then you created the hole, and that back, number 6, was fast enough to just get right up in there. So, hey, we tried it your way. It did not work worth a shit. So let's do it my way. This next game, see how it goes. Crazy, I know. But I do know a couple things. I'm the coach. That's me being as sarcastic as possible. But that's what those coaches will reiterate to the fellows in that. So, yes, I do feel that way. Number 1, though, as far as depth goes, running back 2, running back 3. Like, you got to find those guys, and you can't just throw Emmett out there to die. And I know that was kind of the philosophy of some other teams, but you gotta have a second option. You are Nebraska at the end of the day. You should have more than one running back. So spot on, Jim. I think that's what we have to really, really work on. Brian says, morning verse, we won a 1-score win. Without Eckler, we lose that game. I think I'll go to bat with that. I also think you lose that game if you don't have your evolution of your mentality. And I think it's a good thing. Are you going to run for the regent position that would vacate due to some unfortunate driving problems? And if so, I did. I told you guys last year I was thinking about that. They say that's like 300 G's, and we have. We talked about that too, but we're gonna have to get a GoFundMe. Okay, I'm a little illiquid, locked up in some hard assets that I don't want to borrow against to be a regent. Tim says it's 6'10", too tall for any lineman. That seems like an obstacle itself for a QB1 to throw over a wall like that. Yes, 6'10's, that's a lot. I mean, that's a big son of a bitch out there. If he's in proper width of stance and lever, like where his feet are wide, like I think that was something I pulled away from Teddy as he did it. Haas or some, not just Haas, but a couple other guys still think he needs to drop a couple LBs, which would help him get on those outside. I'm fine with where he's at. He feels comfortable with it. I thought physically, like we look like players, like, and it's the eye test. You still have to play the game. There have been games where we rolled out and I'm like, shit, we look bad, like physically. I think physically we all looked the part. And then we played fairly well. By no means, again, perfect, but we played fairly well. The 6'10" guy, a wide base will take you down, 4 to 6 inches. Now you're a 6'4" guy. Is it ideal? Because, if your 6'4" guy starts and he gets 4 gone, he's 6 foot. Through as many reps as they've had in practice, the throwing lanes, Railo will know where the throwing lanes are on every play. It becomes muscle memory. Totally know what you're saying. But yeah, that's a big dude out there. But it's what we got, and he's obviously our best option right now. Just said, how awesome is it that we don't have to suffer through another ESPN broadcast until hopefully a bowl game. That if you're looking for goals, like I know people like to set goals. I was never always very good at setting goals. I'll hang a whiteboard, smart asses. But my goal would be this: go to a bowl game warmer than your climate. Okay, we went to a bowl game last year that was similar to our climate, maybe a little colder. A bowl game warmer than your climate. So that means you're playing down in Florida or in Arizona or Texas or Southern California. Like get to a bowl game warmer than your climate. 8 wins, 9 wins, get you there. No problem at all. So yeah, that would be my goals for the game. Other things, just as we'll check the text now because the calls have kind of faded out. Do you have any problem with ruling the podcast? It seems like a lot to put on your plate when you're still in a phase of rebuilding your team. If you can manage your time and you have that like carved out, you got to do you. I think him having a weekly spot on the McAfee show where he kind of has some good back and forth with those guys, we can see kind of the human aspect of him and the fact that he does really care about the player. Like he is a player coach. To an extent, he will not let them act crazy, but he will have them, kind of where he needs them. I don't mind it at all because I think it's inexpensive recruiting. Okay. Whether you want to admit it or not, a lot of people watch that show, and it's in a lot of locker rooms, and it's in a lot of like high school, like kids listen to it because it's very entertaining. If you've ever wanted to know what it's like to be in a college locker room, I've never been in a professional locker room. That's the closest thing you're going to get to it. It's a lot of talking crazy. It's a lot of cussing. They were talking the other day how they were playing pinochle and spades just like in their free time. That's what we did. The reason I could play, I would have never learned the game of spades had I never played football. Spades, hearts, dominoes, talking shit, having fun with your boys. Okay, so to see him in a human element, and then you never know who you're going to touch. So say they get 100,000 people watching that on ESPN, which are on major ESPN to start, and they go to YouTube, their own YouTube channel gets probably more views or as many views. You're opening yourself up to an audience, and say there's a really good player, maybe going a little bit unnoticed, and his uncle is watching the show. Okay. He says, man, he goes, this Rule guy's on McAfee. I was like, I like how he operates. Hey, Stevie, you're a good football player. Maybe you should check these guys out. You never know what can come out of it, you being out in front. As a preacher's kid, he has got no problem talking. Like, he has got zero problem with the microphone. You can tell he has not met a microphone he does not like. And that's fine. I later in life, hand up, I haven't found a microphone I don't like either. You want to ask me my opinion? I will fucking tell you. I will not hesitate. I mean, we're sitting here on a Sunday morning with an amateur producer, and we're doing a podcast talking about a game. But his gift of gab will hit ears, and his core principles that he can talk about will hit ears, and how he responds, that will be good. You're building the brand. You're reconstructing the brand. So, podcast, probably not as big of a fan of as the McAfee deal, but if he feels that he's got time to handle both, have at it. Tell the story and tell who you are, because now you're in a spot where your culture's settling in. So now the more players you bring in and they see how your culture is and they know the guys live that culture, that gives you an opportunity to increase your talent level. Anytime you can increase your talent level, now your Jimmys and Joes get better, your football on the field gets better. And you have the luxury then of say somebody is still, say you recruit somebody, they told you, yep, I'm in on all this. They get there and they're kind of a turd. It's going to happen. Then you can just move on from the turd. So that's the more better you get in there, the better it can go. Jim says, that's the more sheets of white paper. But hey, we can all learn from this. Yeah, exactly. One of two things will happen by next week. I will get the wall paint that we have at Paisan so I can just write on the paint, or I will get a whiteboard mounted. So, John, you win. I'll get a GoFundMe, and we'll get that put up. If you get the region job, you would be able to afford a whiteboard. Okay, we got jokes today. I like this. I like banter. My post-Nebraska game analysis tradition continues. Thank you for joining us in the morning. It is kind of a wonky week with Labor Day, and it's raining a little bit today. But, hey, you guys know as much as I love it. I love to do this because we can just talk things out. You guys bring up great points. I think we've weeded out all the people that talk crazy on here. So that is what it is. Beautiful Laura says, agree on Archie. So nice to see him effortlessly dropping dimes inside the 10. But you talk about what a relief. I mean, I'm 51 years old, and my mom and I talk to Nance every Thursday. But I know I can go see her whenever I want. To have your family fly in from across the country, and that's the first time you see them. I mean, he had to be jacked. Like, he had to be super excited. Crazy happy for the young man, but good that we have one of those stories. They took a chance on us. They were Huskers head to toe, baby, getting off that plane. They had all the gear. But good to see the young man have success. And, for us, that's advertised, right? Like, we heard the story like, oh, he can kick left foot and he can kick right foot and he can do all this and he blah, 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 blah. And I was like, okay, man. Like, but this is his first game in front of 66,000 people in a professional stadium. Like, and that guy, calm as the day. Like, just got out there and pumped that thing inside the 10 3 times. I was like, all right. Much along the lines of Darren Erstad, who needs more credit for the 1994 national championship. Just pin and deep and make the field long. Gain those 10 yards every punt. Instead of your drive starting at your own 30, you're now starting at the 50. Your next drive starts at the 45. And your odds to score go up. I hope we can make steady diet if we need to of our kicker being able to pop a 52-yarder. Like, that's a luxury we haven't had in quite a while. It's nice. And it's good to talk about special teams in a positive light. As a former special teams coach, like, I love special teams. I love them because there's so much you can do. I was talking to a high school coach yesterday. He came in, had some beers. The kid that's played for us, coaches for them. Said, hey, your guy wants to take over some specials. So I'm like, yeah, send him down. I got some stuff. And I could see in his face he was trying to be nice to me, the head coach. But like, back behind his eyes, he's like, oh, dear Lord. He's like, what is this psychopath going to tell this kid for us to do on special teams? But when you can create pressure in special teams where it's not a liability, where we all don't have to hold our correct collective breaths to watch it all go down, it's relaxing. It really is. Brian says, before the season, my hot take was that we would win more one-score games than we lose. So far, so good. Also, can you draw a 52 trap out of wishbone formation on the whiteboard? Would make the old Gish fullback happy. So we've got some Grand Islanders in the comments. We are now getting the calls. So for those of you that are in the chat session there, we were proficient in trap at Grand Island. This is, if you want to warm the cockles of anybody's heart, I'll draw this super easy. Now the part, and this will be the last one I draw because I'm out of space. So pick wisely. But back in the old school gangster days, this was how defense was played. All this is done is if you float this backer and float this backer, now you got a three-man front look. Okay. Trap. I love trap. I'm just going to put two backers in here. So we're playing 3-4 because it makes the trap go better. This is just clinical. It makes me so happy. But these two are going to double team back there. First linebacker inside, pull kick. You can give the ball to him. You can give the ball to him. You can give the ball to him. It doesn't matter. These two tackles are just cut off angle. You tell any one of these guys that's carrying the ball, don't hit your head on the goalpost because that's where you're headed. So there's trap for you in the old Grand Island sense. But when those things come through, and Nebraska has it in the system, they will hit somebody with a trap at some point in time. I'm just telling you. And I will be very happy. Tim says, things to work on. Absolutely. But the number of so-called fans giving up on the season after one game, let alone the last 10 years, boggles my mind. That does frustrate me. I handled it good, handled it well for the first couple hours of the post game. And then, got some messages and got some talk, and we're not that good, and this is Cincy and blah, 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 blah. We've lost perspective on so much because we're so hungry for it. I understand both sides of it, okay? But you would think after 10 years, like reality has to set in, okay? And we are what we are. We are a rebuilding dinosaur. Okay, we are evolving. We will never be what we were. Nobody will ever be what we were. I'll say that for free. Nobody will ever be what Nebraska in the 90s was. It's not going to happen again. Free agency, moving players, money, all that stuff. Okay, but we can gain perspective and just appreciate the value of a win. We should just be hungry for wins. But much as Wes said, or as Tim said, I don't know how we can be so pissed off at a win. Because for the years before, when the golden child was here and we're getting 3 and we're getting 4 and we're home for Christmas, and all we wanted was a win. We had enough wins to go to a bowl game. Well, now the mindset of we won, but we didn't win right. Okay, well, explain winning right to me. You just have to win. Half a point, 30 points, whatever. Just win the game and be happy for the win. We couldn't even get 24 hours out of it. And we're all like, you can pick at it and you can see where you can get better. But man, appreciate the win. Be happy. You guys took such an extent to go watch your team that when the tailgate line got backed up, you said, to hell with your parking lot. We're going to put the tent right there on the side of the road. We're going to start red cupping some beers because it's noon and it's game day. That's what we're going to do. Okay? You want it. Be thrilled with the win. Because we haven't done it for so long. We've snatched defeat from the jaws of victory for years. We got into a nut-cutting situation. It's Labor Day tomorrow. My computer just told me just in case you didn't know. We've got into a nut-cutting situation so many times before, and we found a way to lose. We put ourselves in those positions to lose, and we didn't lose. Like we won. it's kind of, it's like we're being spoiled children. Like we deserve more. You deserve what you got. You got to win. Your team won. That's all you can ask for. We'll wrap it up here with Mike. Mike says, Wes, I give him a C-, looking for some that will tackle and drive them back in to get them dragged. Yeah, the tackling can get better. But those are things you can drill. You can fix tackling. From the way they're operating right now, I'd say that will get assessed. Thank you guys, as always. It is 9 o'clock. I got to get to work. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you guys participating with me. I always look forward to this on Sunday. We'll go through the ups and downs together. There'll be days where I'm tired of shit, and then there'll be days where I'm just jacked to be here. So be ready for that. You've seen it all. There'll be days where I'm crabby. There'll be days when I'm happy. It's just I'm a lot. But I appreciate you guys coming along with the ride for me. We'll have a whiteboard of some form, you smart asses, for next week. And we'll keep drawing stuff up. So watch the game. Enjoy the game. Come in with any questions you got. I'm an open book. I'll do whatever I can for you because I love you. Have a great day. Have a fantastic Labor Day. And we will talk to you next Sunday on Husker Hangover.